Hello, and welcome back to Big Brother Cycling. Very excited to have you along with us today. We are going to be heading up to Rockingham County, the Shenandoah Valley. Specifically, we're going to spend a lot of time on Union Springs Road today. It's a beautiful day as we travel late October of 2021. We have my brother Joe and my nephew Justin along with us, and today we do have a fun ride. Pretty even keel, but we really enjoyed ourselves as we head around a little bit of Rockingham County. So as we take off around Rockingham County, just give you a little detail back on the Virginia mountains up there. Rockingham County is part of the Shenandoah Valley, or the Shenandoah Valley is actually part of Rockingham County. But this is a settlement of the county began in 1727 when Adam Mueller staked out a claim on the South Fork of the Shenandoah River near the line that now divides Rockingham County from Page County. On a trip through eastern Virginia, the German-born Miller had heard reports about a lush valley to the west which had been discovered by Governor Alexander Spotswood's legendary Knights of the Golden Horseshoe expedition, and then he moved his family down from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania in 1741. Miller purchased 820 acres, including a large Lithia spring near Elkton, Virginia, and lived on this property for the remainder of his life. Much increased settlement of this portion of the colony of Virginia by Europeans began in the 1740s and the 1750s, standing between Tidewater and the Piedmont regions of the east in Virginia, and the Shenandoah Valley and the area beyond known as Old Virginia as a transmountaine. They were the Blue Ridge Mountains, and rather than cross such a formidable physical barrier, most early settlers came southerly up on the valley across the Potomac River from Maryland and Pennsylvania. And many followed the Great Wagon Trail, also known as the Valley Pike, or U.S. Route 11 in modern times. Rockingham County was established in 1778 from Augusta County. Harrisonburg was named the county seat and incorporated as a town in 1780. Now, Harrisonburg was incorporated as a city in 1916 and separated from Rockingham County. All cities in Virginia are independent of any county, but it remains the county seat. So here we're seeing on Union Springs Road, this is a Saturday morning, we headed out for a ride, and or maybe Saturday afternoon actually, and essentially this is just an example of one of the many Jeep clubs that utilize Union Springs Road, heading up over to Raleigh Springs and some of the other areas over there. But it's not uncommon to find 5, 10, 20 Jeeps and Toyotas and other pickup trucks in a line that go up and above the mountain.
It's not just move your leg.
Right now, Joe and Justin are having a little trouble with the XL250R. His idle speed had gone a little high, so he was having some trouble. And these bikes are from the 80s, so Joe, he knows them pretty well, and he's worked on them for a long time, so he was able to fix that challenge. But you can see as we wait patiently.
They're good.
As we wait patiently for all these trucks to clear the creek. It's just an opportunity to share the mountain up there. It's an opportunity to have a lot of fun, and the Jeep clubs, they just absolutely love going up and down this particular mountain. Of course,
that's the winner.
Justin, he wants one of these Toyota Tacomas in the sand. That's his dream truck at the moment. So seeing one of those go by in this
from Philadelphia
caravan of vehicles was just a lot of fun for him, and he's saving up his money to get that right now. So. You can see we're almost clear. We've got one or two vehicles that are going to come through. I guess there's always a straggler or always somebody that is a little more cautious, and quite honestly, that caution pays off for those of us that are in the back and going easy sometimes. So we cleared the Jeep Club and fired up the Ducati Scrambler, a desert sled, and we headed for the lower portion of the creek. You've seen this before, but it's just a lot of fun to cross this creek. It gives you a sense of adventure, and I guess it gives you that feeling in the gut of your stomach each time you cross. Is this one that I'm going to go into the drink there, if you will? But we didn't. We had a lot of fun, and it was worth it to go through the creek and then head on down to Union Springs Road. So the county is named for Charles Watson Wentworth, the second Marquis of Rockingham. He was a British statesman from 1730 to 1782. He lived from 1730 to 1782. He was Prime Minister of Great Britain twice and a keen supporter of constitutional rights for the colonists. During his first term, he brought about the repeal of the Stamp Act in 1765. And really, as we know from Revolutionary War history, the Stamp Act was a major impetus for the Revolutionary War. So he was responsible for helping reduce the tax burden of the colonies. He was appointed again in 1782. Upon taking office, he backed the claim for the independence of the 13 colonies. So this was all based out of the governor or out of the statesman Marquis for Rockingham County. However, he died only 14 weeks after taking office in 1782. By 1778, it was already unusual to honor British officials in Virginia fighting for its independence. The same year, immediately to the north of Rockingham County, Dunmore County, named for Virginia's last royal governor, John Murray, the 4th Earl of Dunmore, an unpopular figure, was renamed. The new name became Shenandoah County. It used a Native American name. However, long their political supporter for the British Parliament, the Marquis of Rockingham was a popular figure with the citizens of the new United States. Also named in his honor were Rockingham County, New Hampshire, Rockingham County, North Carolina, and the city of Rockingham in Richmond County, North Carolina. So, you know, it's definitely cool to go back and look at some of the history of the land that we're privileged enough to go ride upon, to enjoy this incredible mountain road. This is Union Springs Road, just outside of Dayton, Virginia, which is also just outside of Harrisonburg, Virginia. But this particular Union Spring Road, it has a couple of different terrains as you go through. As you go up on the top portion, it really becomes a significant rocky terrain. We've seen that before. It's got several switchbacks. The grades become fairly intense. We're on what we call the lower portion here now, zipping along. It's a lot of fun, and you can get some decent speed going along, but essentially you still have to watch yourself. And as you come along, there's some pretty tight turns, pretty tight curves. There's some off-camber curves that you have to be careful about, but we've always enjoyed simply riding along on this particular stretch of road. But as you go down even a little further, the road changes up, and you'll see that in a little bit. The road changes out to like a shale-covered road that is hardpack, much better than just the dirt here. So we'll let you enjoy the view for a few minutes, and then we'll come back when we get to the reservoir in a second. So one of the things that we're headed out to do today, Joe and I, our last name is Wine, and we had heard, and Justin had been there, we had heard that there was a wine cemetery from the Civil War, and we wanted to just see if any of our ancestors were there, and we think we found that. We headed down off of the mountain and headed into a little speck of land. It was probably no more than 50 by 50 feet, and it had a half a dozen or dozen or so tombstones in it that were just very cool. So off to the right is actually the reservoir, and as we come around, this road is so popular. There's a whole bunch of people that mountain bike on the road. There's a bunch of people that horseback ride. Of course, we motorcycle. I think you also have seen, the Jeep clubs that spend a little bit of time on that road. It's a wonderful, unspoiled piece of nature. And as you can see here, this is the kind of the reservoir that feeds some of the local water supplies in the community there. It's always been kind of a landmark for us as we travel from Indiana out to Virginia, out to the cabin. Once you've seen that, you know that you're within about an hour of getting to the cabin and enjoying yourself. But it takes a bit of time to come down off the mountain, and it was just a nice rest stop. So now we're heading up over to Clover Hill. We had already been to the cemetery, and it was an awesome experience of revisiting, some of your ancestry, some of your history. And now we come to the Buck Bowman Park. This is at Clover Hill, just off Clover Hill Road. And the baseball team that plays here is actually called the Clover Hill Bucks. I guess it's pretty self-explanatory. But this was also the area.
Clover something?
Clover Hill. We were trying to read. This is also the area where our grandfather played baseball back in the 1920s.
But this is where Grandpa Wine played baseball.
And as Joe just said, he played baseball here. He was a huge baseball fan. I actually have a couple of baseballs that he collected at some major league games back in the 50s and 60s that Joe and I have possession of. But we just wanted to see what this little
Clover Hill,
what this little baseball park looked like. And Buck Bowman Park has been the home of the Clover Hill Bucks since July 1st, 1954, when the Audubon team moved to a newly built park with lights. Named for one of the most influential figures in RCBL history, Buck Bowman is located on Clover Hill Road, just in Dayton right there. So it's really just a neat little piece of Americana. You've got what they've been using this park now for over almost 100 years apparently. But the facility was just something to see that, you can see these kind of baseball parks all across America. And I think that is something that don't lose sight of. And we get an opportunity on the motorcycles to go visit, a very cool baseball park. They call it the Clover Dome. And again, it was an opportunity to revisit our ancestry, our history, and as we age, more and more of that stuff that gets lost.
That's an old. Hey Dale, that's an old ballpark.
And as Joe said, it's been there, over 100 years, and the park is now home again to the Clover Hill Bucks. So we completed the trip over to Clover Hill, and now we're heading back up to the cabin. Which means we're again returning up on Union Springs Road. And as you can see here, there's yet another group of Jeep clubs that have decided to make their way up the hill. I'm not sure why they were stopped, but definitely, they were doing some sightseeing. And just as I clear the last truck here on the left, or last SUV on the left, take a quick look to the left, you'll see what we call frog rock. And basically it's a rock that, you can see it right there, a rock that has been there for generations, but someone painted it to look like a frog. It stands opposite a tree rock, which is a rock that has a tree growing out of it that's grown over the 50 years that I've been going up to the cabin there. And we're headed up the mountain. Now, it had been raining the night before, even though there's some dust here in the lower areas as we get up towards the creek and up towards some of the spots as we head north. It became, or rather west, it became rather slippery because the leaves would look dry on top, but the rocks and so forth underneath were certainly wet and very slippery. And I guess this is an opportunity to review, that all of us have had motorcycle safety training classes. All of us have our motorcycle endorsement for being on the road. We're learning to ride more and more. We grew up on motorcycles, but it's been quite some time since we'd all been on them. And Justin here is in front of me, and he's enjoying the XR250R, or XL250R. He's having a nice ride. The terrain is fun. He's able to do a few jumps and bunny hops and so forth, and avoid some of the mud. But again, as this terrain, you can see it's wet. There's a lot of water, standing water. And as we come up to the lower portion of the creek, you'll see what happens to Justin here in a second. I've slowed it down for a quick slow-mo, and then we'll replay it again in regular speed. But you can watch, and we try to zoom in a little bit on it, but we try to watch what happens when Justin loses control of his motorcycle. Fortunately, it was at relatively slow speed. However, when he went down, he did a pretty good number on his left arm, took the brunt of the fall. And as a result of that, we cut our trip short by half a day. Instead of coming down the mountain the next morning to come home, we packed up and left so he could go to an urgent care facility. No long-term injuries, no breaks, no sprains. However, he did have a pretty bad contusion on his arm and on his leg. And as a result of that, he is a little more careful when he rides today. And I think it's a lesson for all of us that no matter how long you've been riding, you can definitely have an incident very quickly on your motorcycle. And that's why Joe and I try to ride with a lot of caution. We're older riders, and when we fall, things break or get hurt, they tend to stay hurt for a long, long time. So I had really kind of fallen back behind Justin here for a bit of the ride, and then as we come around the corner, I was just able to catch it with my camera. You can see that he hit a bunny hop, and then he came up over the hill, and he was reacting to Joe braking in front of him, and he went down high-sided it over the top of the bike. So as I said, fortunately, no one was seriously hurt, but one, it's scary when a member of your bike team goes down. When it's family, it's just as bad. And I was signaling to Joe to come back. He had already gone towards the creek, and he was actually quite a ways away. He hadn't witnessed the fall at all. And of course, now you can hear Justin's reaction to what he's, the pain and the fear that he's experiencing as he falls on his bike, right, or falls off of his bike. So definitely get settled, turn off the bike, make sure everything and everyone is in a safe condition, and then made my way over to check on Justin immediately here. And essentially,
Yes, sir.
He's not necessarily in shock, but he's definitely reeling from the pain at this point. He took a pretty good fall, probably at a good 20-30 miles an hour. And that's enough to hurt, and it's enough to not feel well when something like that happens.
All right, I got you. Just relax a bit.
So the infamous walk it off is kind of where he's at the moment. And like I said, everybody turned out fine, but he did have some pretty bad contusions. Here we've just been back. He changed into a warmer sweatshirt, and he was actually feeling a little bit of shock. Riding with his arms elevated back up the mountain, his hands had gone somewhat numb, and he definitely was feeling the pain in that left elbow. It's not broken, but he was showing me, at least that's I think what he was showing me there, what it was like. There's a last shot of the cabin just as the nighttime lights are coming up, and that's one of the reasons we go. It's absolutely beautiful up there, and we had a great time. So thanks for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of Big Brothers Cycling. Thank you, and take care.